as Allan Moffat pulls up over Drew Morfitt's left shoulder onto pole position for what should be a sensational fifth round, the start of the second bracket, the second half of the Australian Touring Car Championship. And that's the way they qualified yesterday. Allan Moffat, 57.4, 3/10 better than his best time last year here. George Fury, 2 seconds better than his best time a year ago. Peter Brock, only 1 second, that's right, better than his previous best. Fury and Grice not far behind him, 2/10. Dick Johnson could wring nothing more from the Falcon than 58.4. Steve Harrington, who's lying third in the series with great consistency, finishing all 4 races, a 58.9, quite a good time for him. And the privateer from Tasmania, David Parsons, a good time, 59.4 also. Jim Keogh, in a car new to him, Peter Brock's Bathurst 1980 winning car rebuilt. So that's the way the leading 10 shape up for this 40-lap, 96.5 kilometre, fifth round of the Australian Touring Car Championship. That's a 3-2-3 grid situation. So Allan Moffat, George Fury to his left, Peter Brock to his left.
The lap record, 59 seconds. The top 6 cars under that record in practice yesterday. 1.5 seconds separates the top 6 cars on the grid.
Second row of the grid, Grice and Dick Johnson, V8 Commodore and V8 Falcon. Third row of the grid, Steve Harrington, Commodore, Parsons, Commodore, Stack, Commodore. Fourth row is Keogh and Harrop. Fifth row, Benson Brown. Wilmington is missing Blue and Engine yesterday and has gone home. Andrew Harris. Then Wilson, Parmenter and White. Graham Treasure and Manson down at the tail end of a 17-car grid. All in readiness. Great tension here on a very fine day and a big crowd. As they blast away, Fury getting a bit sideways and not getting away very well, but Brock jumps beautifully. And it's Brock from Moffat. And look at the gap, though, that a good start has given Brock on the remainder of the field.
Here comes
Johnson
Grice.
now, Grice it is, barging his way through. Fury 4th, Harrington 6th. That's Cullen 22, outside Parsons 50.
It's Brock from Moffat. Grice, Fury. Steve Harrington in 5th position.
Well,
Harrington was smoking badly when he came onto the bowl as well. Right behind him is David Parsons.
Moffat has nothing to complain about with that electrifying start, slotting him into second place ahead of all but one of the cars that should be able to leave off early in the race down the straight. Fury, the series leader, will be a little bit more disappointed.
There goes Grice, past Moffat.
And talking to Allan Grice in the form-up area earlier, I said, "You will mix it with them, won't you, and make life uncomfortable for the little ones?" And he said, "Oh, all right, with a grin all over his face. He loves a scrap." David Parsons in car number 50 has come to a halt. Very bad luck for a man. He's banged the back of it very hard, as you can see there. And very bad luck because the Tasmanian privateer has very little money to spare and so far has done very well in the series. A 59.82 and about a second and a bit quicker than that, the second lap for Brock. 59.82 is his standing lap. So Brock in the position that he and Grice must assert on the little cars, which running softer compound Dunlop tyres with better grip but also putting much less heat into them through the race, will be in better condition by the end of 40 laps. This is the longest of all the touring car rounds so far, 96.5 kilometres. All the others have been just around the minimum required of 80.
Steve Harrington moves up into 5th position, and behind him Dick Johnson in the first of the Ford Falcons. Brock now extending his lead off the bowl, working hard to keep the pressure off his tyres, because the tyres have to last in good condition for 40 laps. And Brock knows just how difficult that is in the heat of Adelaide International Raceway.
58.5, that lap for Brock. Moffat, Grice at least, with pressure on him from both Moffat and Fury.
58.5, of course, is 0.5 of a second under Brock's existing lap record, so that's the pace of the race.
On full tanks.
Moffat looking for a way all the way through Grice.
There's no suggestion of the tactic employed by Moffat last weekend of an electrifying pit stop. No need for it, nor does the pit arrangement at Adelaide Raceway suit it. So we do not expect to see that again.
Nonetheless, the Peter Stuyvesant Moffat team have judged their fuel load so keenly that they estimate they'll finish with about 1 litre of fuel left in the tank.
Harrington, Dick Johnson, 5th and 6th. Cullen in 22. The car qualified yesterday by Ron Harrop, 10th grid position. Johnson bucking around in the big Ford that got a great cheer from the crowd when he brought it out onto the grid. He and that car really invoked more loyal devotion from the fans than most other brands. Brock, Grice, Moffat, Fury. Onto the bowl for the 5th time. 35 laps remaining.
Fury trying now on Moffat.
And I would think he might just... No. Wiley Moffat saw that, but that's interesting, isn't it? Moffat a 57.4 in practices. Fury worked much harder and longer to do a 57.8. But having a real probe at Allan Moffat.
Peter Brock, 1.18 seconds in front of the racecraft for second position, between Grice, Moffat and Fury, and this circuit of all of them really suiting the smaller cars of Allan Moffat and George Fury, if only they can get a clean run.
Brock coming up the lap. Tail ender in a Capri already, a 1.3 second lead over Grice, who's pulling out to about 6/10 on Moffat and a whisker or a blink of an eye on Fury. And they come by the very slow car 48, the Isuzu of Jeff Manson, which frankly at the pace he's going, being lapped after 6 laps, has very little place in the race.
Moffat having to work really hard to try and shake Fury off his tail, and Fury ducks to the outside, won't do it under brakes, but Moffat is in real jeopardy from Fury. The gap, first to fourth position, is 2.21 seconds.
This the scrap behind the 2 Commodores of Brock and Grice.
The news through, as we obviously can see from the pace of this race, that all 4 cars dicing for the lead have all broken Peter Brock's lap record.
And of course the one in 3rd place, Allan Moffat, took his first pole position in the 5 rounds of this year's Touring Car Championship here yesterday. Pole had previously been taken twice by Grice, twice by Brock. But Moffat, what he has done, has won several races.
First car into the pits is Steve Harrington, the 22-year-old, just turned 22 in fact on Friday, number 2 driver in the STP Roadways team. He's been locking up a front left-hand wheel